See, I got this thing. It was super fancy. See, I've moved now. I've got this whole like section thing. You know, when you come into my house, it's no longer in the room. I've got my own thing, so to speak.
That's on backwards for me. What does it say?
What do you mean it's backwards on me?
Oh, I see. On air.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? You can read it, right?
Well, no, it's backwards for me. But anyway,
It doesn't look backwards on mine.
Yeah,
that's what's weird. Maybe it throws it to you backwards. I don't know.
Okay,
that's
long
right.
as it's recording the right way around.
Yeah, as long as it's well, maybe it's recording. Maybe you're backwards.
Yeah, that's a good chance.
Well, Pete, mate, welcome back to the platform. I can't even recall how many times you've been on here before. Too many. Many. 3?
Well, apparently I was in number 14. I'll get rid of these.
Were you?
I was in, episode 14. So, I was one of the early adopters.
You're an early adopter.
Well, one of the evangelists, they call them, you know.
Yep. What sort of fame and fortune came your way after that? Would have been huge, wouldn't
it? Well, I don't know. Who knows? Although someone watched it the other day, actually, and they said, I was thinking about going into business, but after listening to you, I'm not going to do it. It just sounds too hard.
That sounds hard. I might just keep having a job.
I'm not ready to go through the pain that you went through. So it's still resonating. So that's pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, because you're obviously still out there on the internet, quite well followed and seen. If you Google Pete Baskerville, you can see you.
Still doing, still pushing. I actually had to pull up that this is the wonderful world of AI now. Is that I wanted to sort of get a quick summary of what we talked about in episode 14, which I think was probably, maybe I was 65, so that's 5 years ago probably.
Yep.
Would it be that long ago?
No, just before COVID. When's that? 3 years.
Okay. And anyway, I had to sort of just, what did I talk about? Just so that I don't just go and repeat myself. And
what did AI say to you?
Yeah, I whacked the YouTube up into AI and I just say, give me a summary of this. And it told me a whole summary. Like, it's ridiculous. It even created a podcast of your podcast.
Really? What, a summary of the podcast?
No. It creates a podcast of your podcast.
Oh,
2 people talk about my story.
So 2 more. So people podcast about the podcast.
Yeah, but they're AI people. 2 AI people have a chat about your podcast of me. I sent you a link. You must have a look at it. So you create an audio link out. You create an audio link out of it. It's great. It's a 10-minute sort of podcast on your 1 hour
on the podcast.
But it gives, I can get the main themes, the important ideas, key quotes. Yep. What else it does? Yep. It does the background, the whole, the run of it. It does the timeline, 1964, what was I doing in 1980. It does a whole breakdown. It's only been released. It's called Notebook LM. It's released by Google. It's just bizarre. In terms of use in teaching, it's just blown everything away because you just upload your PDF. You can actually create a podcast on a PDF. Like you've got to see it. I've got to show it to you. It's only probably a week or 2 old, and it's a really good way to absorb content. I mean, it's stupid to do a podcast of a podcast, but when you do a podcast of a really dry thing like a PDF, which you're asking your students to read, they don't want to read it. They never do the pre-reading. I actually think that they will listen to the podcast on that PDF on the drive in to TAFE, things like that.
Yep.
So anyway,
that might fast track their learning.
Mate, just the things I've been up to since we last spoke on episode 14.
Mate, you've been up to a lot. You've been getting older, which is what happens with time.
Yeah.
And yet we find you 1 week out from another powerlifting comp.
Yeah, I think I've been angling for this since I was 65 because I saw the 70-year-old records and they're starting to look quite sweet, you know.
Doable.
Although I went back through open powerlifting to just see how many other 70-year-olds there were. And I had to go, actually, open powerlifting only started recording 70-year-olds powerlifting from 2017. 2017 was the first 70-year-old powerlifter.
In there.
And then there was 3, and then there was 8, and then there was 15, and then there was 20. Yep. So there's a whole growth now of 70-year-old powerlifters. So it's now actually becoming quite a competitive category.
Yeah.
And it looks like the first thing that drops off for old people is squat. You find plenty of good benches and probably some decent deadlifts, but the squat is the one that, and I can understand that. I know what it feels like as a 70-year-old to get under a decent weight.
I think you'll see the squat be a bit more challenging, one, due to the skill of the squat. So I think you could argue a good percentage of people landing in their 70s to powerlifting probably are newer to it. They aren't necessarily like yourself.
I see.
So like, you know, if you're 70, you've got a well-used body, right? So maybe you probably don't have the mobility or stability or something to be able to squat, but you can probably pick something up. You can probably push something away. So bench and deadlift would make a lot of sense.
Well, we've been doing it 15. It's 15 years, isn't it? Is that?
I have lost count.
Like you said, that fortitude.
I've been working 15 years off your statement of 15 years, but if we've done 10 years of fortitude,
well, I was 55.
Well, it's actually 16. It has to be 16.
Yeah. So I joined you when I was 55. That was when you walked into the shop and saw a miserable 130 kilo overweight past it. And
what was considered old back then?
Yeah, terribly old. You know, it was impressive that a 55-year-old was doing stuff. But the comment is just, and this was made by one of your guys on your podcast. He said that there's a phenomena on at the moment, which is we've got aspirational 60-year-olds, and I really related to that. I said, I'm not 60 and done. I'm 60 and still aspirational, and now here I am at 70 and aspirational. But even though there's a lot of them, but the funny thing is they're not 70 yet. I'm probably one of the first, probably me and Jimmy
in Australia
are the only two in Australia that have sort of got into 70 and still thought that it was worth powerlifting. And
I think thanks to social media, you're seeing a lot of exposure because it's cool to see people 70 to 80. I was literally watching an older chick in her 80s today on an Instagram. Yeah, thrown at me today by the algorithm. She looked like she was squatting like 145. In her 80s. In her 80s, and she picked the sport up in her 60s. She said, which freaking cool. That's a big weight for anyone, let alone 85-year-old lady. Go down to Good Life on a Monday night, see how many girls or even guys are swinging that around as a squat, right?
Yep.
Not many.
So is
that where the desire to lift, mate? Like that aspirational nature, that still sort of quest for challenge, that brings a bit of motivation for next week?
Yeah, I think what came out of podcast, according to the summary, they talked about reinventing yourself, and that's and they said this is a theme of this guy's life, and I said, I think that's true. That I'm always moving from to. I'm not sort of, because if you hang on to something too long, it sort of dies with you. Sometimes if I was looking forward to going to the beach, well, that died with me because I hate sand in my pants now. But other things take over from it, and I think reinventing yourself is looking around, seeing what you can do, what is your capacity to do it, and stepping up and doing it. And powerlifting was one of those things that it looks like it will go as long as I want it to go. And that's pretty amazing. If I was a squash player or a tennis player, I think ankles and knees and elbows would probably take me out, and so many other sports. But this is a deliberate sport. Like when you lift,
and I think what's important, there's space for you too, right? Like you're celebrated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know the other sports too well, so I don't want to speak ill of them. But I know for you and powerlifting, as a 70-year-old walking into the room, you are lauded and considered the king of that space.
Yeah,
Whereas I would maybe suggest someone
correct.
of your age going to another sport might be like, oh, who's this old fella having a dig?
Yeah,
But in
yeah,
the sport, like, not only are you celebrated and everyone is like fired up to see you have a crack, or regardless of who it was, anyone of your age doing the thing would be fired up for it. You also have an opportunity, thanks to Klaus Brenner, to be competitive, which is also something that's an experience that disappears for most people pretty much, leaving high school even.
yeah. Well, even when I was with you in those early days, and it had athlete on the form, I sort of thought, well, who are they talking about? You know,
Yep.
how can I be an athlete at 58 or whatever it is,
Oh.
And then you start to realize, no, you're an athlete. You're a master's athlete, and I think with the funny thing with strength is that, as you've proved it, is that you can get older and stronger. Like that was just. We kept that going until March last year. I don't think I've done a PB since then. But to go from 55 to basically 69 and be
Yep.
actually getting stronger every year is just, it just wipes out that fallacy of people. I heard it on the thing the other day. He said, oh, as people get older, they lose their strength. But no, as people
They
get
lose
older,
because
they
they
don't
stop
go to
fucking
the
using
gym. They
it. Yeah,
stop going
they
to the
lose it because they
gym.
don't go to the gym. That's the problem, right? You don't use it, you lose it. Doesn't
Like
matter if
they've
you're
got,
70 or 30 or 40, you
that's
lose
right.
it.
So they found a correlation, but they didn't find a causation. It's
Yeah,
not old that causes us to lose muscle mass. It's time in the gym. It's hours under the
lack of
bar. That's
lack
that's
of
why
use.
that's why and
Yep.
you've proved that if you do
Mm,
spend time under the bar, you can
mm,
minimum maintain, if not
mm.
if not get stronger. So
Yep. Well,
so
anyone
that's
gets
been a real
stronger.
revelation. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful sport, and of course the way you've built Fortitude is that it's a community too. It's a if there's people that go to church because of the community, or they join the Rotary Club because of the community. There's a lot of things that we join to be part of a community,
Mm,
and honestly, you couldn't get a better community than what we have there at Fortitude.
yep.
Just the
And even
diversity, the
the great
support.
audience too, like the strength community itself as well. Like you walk into a powerlifting comp, you meet and greet a lot of people, even though there is some big egos there. Everyone's got time for you to talk and have that kind of
Totally.
stuff too, right?
Totally. Yeah. So it's sort of a bit self-selecting too.
Mm.
Like I just find the people that I don't necessarily get along with or wouldn't want in my group actually don't stay. The actual sport is self-regulating because we all know that you go through times of injury, you go through times where you don't get what you want, you go through times when you don't feel like training, and so it sort of self-regulates. So the only people that stay on are people that are resilient,
Yep.
people that can come back from letdowns. Just
Yep.
watching Sil, he's been my training mate for many, many years, and just watching him go through sort of difficult times and just fight back. And now he's
Hmm.
the strongest he's ever been. And
Cool
hopefully
to
he
see.
takes on worlds and smashes
Oh,
it.
destroy worlds.
But
I
yeah, I
can't.
mean, that's why I'm attracted, that's why I love having him as training partner, because he's shown
Mm,
how you can keep coming
mm.
back. You can be knocked down, but you're not knocked out. And
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think, he's very much draws inspiration from yourself and others in the gym. So when he has had tough times or challenging times for varying reasons, he can look to you guys for your own successes and help him pull him in the same direction, right? Like if everyone's willing to go that way, the gym or the culture of strength will bring you there, even if you're having a bit of a rough run.
yeah. No, I love it. And what I was trying to get back before about the type of exercise it is that it's a
Mm,
single bracing exercise. It's not
mm,
like, I don't think my body is ready for quick lefts and right like tennis or squash or a lot of other sports, because
yep.
you're just in a braced position and you lift, or you braced position,
Mhm.
and then you
Very
mostly do.
stable.
Yeah, it's an incredible stable. So you're not likely to get those injuries
Mm,
from movement, because,
yep.
and I think old gnarly muscle is really good for that. Like they talk about rugby union, the best rugby union forwards are in their late 30s, early, late 30s or 30 to 35, around that sort of mark. That's when they hit their best strength because the muscle, I don't know the science of it, becomes quite gnarly and that's how I
It's got
feel like that's
maturity
what
to
I'm
it.
tapping into. I'm not tapping into a flexible
You're
muscle. I'm
definitely not
tapping into
flexible.
something that just is,
Had some
what did Nilesh
fortitude
call
about
it? Some alien gene, he called
There's some
it.
fortitude about it. But yeah, that being said, you got new muscles, right? You didn't
Yeah.
start with them. We grew them. You made them.
No,
Just
no,
took a bit.
no.
Yeah, I think that the only thing for the only challenge that comes with age is like one is recovery takes a bit longer, which we know about. So if we wreck you on a big one, you need to take more time before you get to go again. We
Yeah,
don't often take you to the edge. It's rare, but when we do, we consider it.
yeah,
It takes longer to get stronger. That's just the thing, and we just need to be kind of mindful of that. And we're never trying to break you, so we do typically play a bit more in the greener zone,
yeah,
so to speak. And then just when we do have those moments of going for it, it's considered, thought out, and everything is on. And you're switched on for it, which is good too. And that's come from experience. You didn't just start redlining it, like you didn't just do big heavy top sets to start with.
no,
You learned the skill of that, being able to do that, so it could continue to be safe. Like you can stand under something that is a 1 rep max and make good decisions. And if it stopped you, you have enough lifting intelligence or maturity to know what to do. So you didn't do something silly where you'd get hurt either, which is good.
yeah, yeah.
It's good because too often that's the thing you hear, right? You're like, you shouldn't be lifting weights too heavy. You're going to hurt yourself. I had a fucking dumb physio tell a client of mine ages ago that he was too old and he shouldn't be lifting too heavy. And that dude was 55.
That's where you start powerlifting. What is he talking about?
Thankfully, he was clever enough to realize that 55 isn't actually old and thought that was a bit silly and maybe you should see somebody else. But that mindset still exists, right? People still out there saying it. That guy's a physio. Even when I had a conversation with him, he was like, "Yeah, I work with a lot of elite athletes." I was like, "Man, whoever you work with, I pity because your mindset is very small." But that's still a thing, right? It's out there. That's still the majority.
Yeah, well, you were talking about this comp that's coming up that, we've been, I think I've been planning for it for over a year, because I knew, one, I was really quite chuffed to get to 70. That's where it's quite bizarre is the
Cool.
fact that, most people, they get older and they, oh my God, I'm getting really old now. I just think it's exciting because you get all these new challenges, which is, world records and, Australian records. And not only that is the one we looked at, which was all-time
That's the cool thing.
the all-time strongest lift. So
No,
for my weight at 70,
no
the
one's done this.
all-time strongest lift, is 215 in a
Yep.
squat. Well,
215 and a half and it's job done.
yeah. So that's and what a huge motivation to be 70 and to be trying to do something that no 70-year-old in my weight division. Well, they've not done it in a comp. They maybe did it out on a farm lifting a log or something, but
Some in the club, whatever.
not in a registered comp. And that's bizarre. How you can get to 70 and be looking at that sort of a goal is just crazy.
Super cool. I mean, and then just even having that, like you can see you've put more time in the gym than you have done in quite a while, so you can see the inspiration or motivation there because of that competition there, which is I think is a cool thing that anyone who's coming to the gym needs to draw on. Is like you pick those numbers and it can help drive you to get there to do that thing that you want to do. Like you're doing more time and more hours and more purpose than you've had in a little while, which is good.
Yeah, my watch keeps telling me that. They sort of compare me to last year and say, I mean, this is the bizarre thing. What did because of that episode I had with my heart, the doctor said, well, you've got to try and do 30 minutes of exercise per day if you can. Well, I sort of do an hour and a half per day.
Yeah, well, I'm already doing that. Next
And that hour and a half is in a powerlifting gym. That's not a walk. I didn't go for an hour and a half walk. I did an hour and a half, lifting, well, maybe not always heavy things, but certainly lifting and resistance.
It's certainly more challenging than a walk.
That's right. And so, yeah, I've been watching that on my watch. It's recorded on my watch and sort of says, you're way up in your training. And so far so good. We're not, we're not, like you say, breaking. I'm not at breaking point. It's all within the scope of things.
Yeah, 100%. What do you reckon? When do you go for the 2:15.5? Second or third attempt?
Yeah, I think we have to go.
What would Coach Pete
I
do?
think we'll go
What would the
third.
path be for Coach Pete? If Coach Pete
I'd love
coaching
to do it
Pete.
I'd love to do it second, but to do that, I'd probably have to do a 200 opener or something like that. Wouldn't I?
You're gonna have to open 200 to do that.
Yeah, but if I
It's not
did
unlikely. You did
195,
200 for double last week.
yeah, I know.
Hmm.
So maybe.
I don't think that's a silly idea.
Okay.
I
So
don't think, because I mean, I know you're happy with 2:15, but as your coach, for people that don't know, I also coach you. I'm not happy with 2:15.5 because I know at some point someone's going to break your record, and I don't want that to be next week.
well, yeah, we've just got to get our numbers published before anyone else has done it. That's the worry.
Yeah. I think as a true trailblazer that you are, you want to set the example and set the challenge for that person coming.
I'm
don't
cool.
just walk it in.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. So, but 200, 215.5, and then let's see what.
What are the other people squat? Are the other people squatting at your age out there that you see on Open Powerlifting? Have you looked at the other weight classes?
Oh, and I think the 100 weight class is quite good. And this is the interesting thing about 70-year-olds. They're mostly in the 100 and under 90 because I think people in my class at the moment, the 110, don't make it to 70. Like, I think if you're going to be overweight, I don't think overweight and longevity is a good mix. And so and so the people that that's why this is hopefully the last 110 I do. And
will be the last 110.
From now on, I'll be under 100 and maybe even heading down under 90.
Under 90.
That's
a cool thing for you too, right? From a goal perspective, look, at some point we've always talked about maybe the PBs will stop, and maybe that's soon, maybe that's not. But you get to look at setting new personal bests at lower weight classes. So technically, while there may not be more weight on your barbell, you do get to be that guy that says, "Oh yeah, this is my new PB at 100. Yeah, this is my new PB at 95." So even whilst you can still maintain being aspirational rather than just attending, there's always still going to be a goal there for you to chase for the next infinite time, whether that is around a scale and an achievement on a weight, an overall weight, or as you know, with open powerlifting, the next age bracket is only another 5 years away that you can start looking and planning towards very soon as well.
Yeah, but I mean that's where Gloss Brenner is such a great thing. Whether it's a fair measure, I don't know. But I mean, you can at least say that maybe I'm lifting less, but I'm lighter, so therefore my gloss is still the same, even though I'm not lifting as much. So that's the beauty of the sport, like you say, is that you can still be aspirational towards goals and to be feeling that you're doing the best you've ever done because of that. Scoring system. So,
and you're competing against me. I couldn't beat you. Your gloss score way better than mine. I wouldn't stand a bloody chance in a comp with you. You destroy me.
Yeah, I got a feeling that the gloss was developed before there were these aspirational 60-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like the science of it, the pool that they were looking at were the only people in their 60s were probably playing around with it, not necessarily.
They probably weren't lifting.
No, they weren't properly lifting. I think if you redid that science again today, I may well lose some of those points because, you do see that it seems to favour the older lifters, seem to always be in the guys in their 60s, even though Masters is from 40 plus, it seems to be you've got to be in the 60s to be on the platform. So that sort of indicates that maybe the numbers are a bit skewed.
Well, maybe part of your trailblazing will be a recalibration of the coefficient for Masters.
I think that's what's got to happen. They got to say we need to have another look at this.
We'll call it
if it was fair, if it was not fair, if it was without that bias, you would have winners in 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they'd be mixed. But we seem to, if you look at last year's nationals, you had to be in your 60s to,
but fair, bro. The dude in his 60s bench 200. Come on. There's no one in their 40s bench. Mate, no one in their 40s bench 200. The dude in his 60s bench 200 at Nats. I think that is the other bit. Mate, Gloss maybe favour him, but also he fucking stronger than everybody.
But I mean, that's what somehow we've created this group of people, these aspirational, and luckily I'm a year and a half ahead of them all, so at least I get the first dibs at a record, and get the piece of paper, put it on the wall, even if a year and a half later I just get steamrolled by all these other guys coming through. You know, it's lovely to be a bit of a trailblazer in it. You know.
Have you seen any peers or any people you know start getting into some strength training, not necessarily for powerlifting, but just based off seeing what you're doing, of your age group at least, or thereabouts? So they're like, well, fuck, it's good for you, right? And then you go say, yeah, and then you say, well, you just got to go to the gym and start throwing something around. Do you ever get a tap on the shoulder for advice or guidance from people?
Oh yeah, I think it's a great example, isn't it? Like, you know, when you've got someone that actually is much older than you and still doing stuff that you could only think about or dream about, it does keep you in the game. I remember we had a lifter, and I thanked him for helping me after a lift. He said, "No, Peter, we're helping ourselves." Because if you can keep going at this age, we can keep going at this age. Like it's like we're not helping you, we're helping to maintain the thought that they too could be older and still as strong as you, you know. And so you see that a bit. You see that that other people are, well, they lose the excuses, you know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's a whole list of excuses you can give once you get to 60 about why you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah,
and then you look across and go, well, what about that guy?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, you know, you can individually, you can make those excuses. You make those excuses because everyone else around you helps you make those excuses. And then probably some of the important peers within your circles tell you to make those excuses because you're like, you're getting old, you're 60, you can't do that anymore. Man, I still hear that from people when I do side hustle at the hospital, from people that are working their rounds in, you know, their early 60s, late 50s, on their way towards retirement. They go, oh, you're a fit looking fella, aren't you? What do you do? I said, I lift weights. What do you think? Oh, I don't do that. It's no good for me. I'm too old. Oh, fucking, how old are you? And then I always tell them your story. Then I literally tell them your story. And they're like, oh, nah, that's that's not for me. It's too hard. I was like, there's the problem. But I tell you what, I even had my own very moment where a peer of my own age group said to me, looking across from me, donating blood, and they go, oh, look pretty strong, like you go to the gym. So, yeah, own a gym, blah, blah, blah. Cliche conversation. I said, yeah, do you go to the gym? Like, you should do some stuff too, right? And she's like, oh, it's getting a bit too old. You know, it's not quite for me, you know. I was like, I know how old you are. I've worked it out, and I know you don't recognize how old I am yet. And I can see them tapping away on the keyboard, entering my details. And the chick, I saw the penny drop. Oh, we're the same age. I was like, yeah, we are the same age. And this is what happened. Like, if you did the lifting, you could, this with you too, do the thing.
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, because, you know, you work at where you are, you come in and tell me about 70-year-olds that don't look anything like what I am, and they're lying in a bed and dribbling, and you must, you know, you could be there too if you didn't put in this work. And you know,
there's a really good Instagram video that went the rounds, and it showed like a 10-year decision, essentially around health and fitness, and it just showed this 10-year decision, like a fork in the road moment for someone. I'll mess it up, and maybe they were in their 60s, for argument's sake, and they stopped, and they just went this way and got old fucking fast. And right at the end, it's super sad. They're on the bed, wife's by their side, just helping them in and out, and they're pretty much at the end. The 10-year decision involved in health and fitness and training and doing some stuff and being healthy and looking after their bodies. They were out playing sport with their grandkids at that 10-year mark, which is freaking cool. Which is how I kind of see that conversation around strength and doing something for your own health and fitness. It is a fork in the road decision that doesn't affect you now. It's a 10-year gap. And that's when you work out, fuck, I should have done it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much to it. I mean, that aspiration, that reason to get up in the morning, you know, like you've got to have that. And okay, there's lots of reasons why I do that, but one of those is to train and be strong and to achieve things, you know. And I think a lot of people start to lose that. And what's the other one they talk about? Yeah, being invisible. As soon as you get old, you become invisible. People don't expect you to contribute or to be useful or to, you know, to do anything. And this journey that I've been on doesn't make me invisible. It's very hard for me to
Nope.
be invisible.
Nope. Hey, we put an edited video that you edited on Instagram, and 10 or 15,000 people watched it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Bench is a peak. We'll do that again, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no excuses. Look at this guy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I like that concept that you're trailblazing. I hope and always constantly talk about you with anyone that I know of a similar age or less, where they say they don't. And I keep trying to tell them about you and that they should. And I think the thing that is often missed is that you didn't start till 55. So there's no reason someone else at 55, 60 goes, fucking missed the boat, too late, can't. You actually can and should as well.
Yeah.
And you show both things there. One, the example, what happens when you do it, and then the other one being that you're not actually too old to do it, to start as well.
Yeah, well, I remember when we first trained together, and I think I was leaving, things like 100 kilos in the deadlift on the ground. It got stuck. I couldn't understand it. I thought you were standing on it, stopping me from lifting it, but it was just beyond me at 55 to do a 100 kilo deadlift and squat and bench, obviously. And so you do start way back. I remember leaving 180 on, I was so excited about getting a 180. That was such a milestone for me. And that got stuck on the ground. So the whole journey is, if you keep training, you get stronger. And of course, in terms of bone density and all this sort of stuff, it's just huge. I think
Bone density is good.
I think when I was talking to Amy and she puts it on the graph and she said, you're in the top 2% of all people, not people your age, but of all people with that amount of bone density. It's sort of sitting right up there in the high green.
Yep.
And that's just resistance training. And that's the poster on my doctor's wall is, look after your bone density, do more exercise. And I said, well, here it is. And I gave him the DEXA scan. I said, here's an example. Here's a real life example of, because
you must enjoy those doctor visits where you're constantly destroying the narrative of every other 7-year-old that probably walks through his door. And for lack of a better word, because I know you live in the suburbs, so I can only imagine the suburban older adult walking into his doctor's place, which is probably the majority of his day, and the conversations he's having with them and the things he's prescribing and what he's doing, and just really think a 10-minute walk a day would be really good for you if you can get out.
It's funny.
And the next time you're there.
I rarely go in because I'm sick. I go to talk about creatine, with my heart condition. Do you think I could get on creatine? Now, the guy just said, look, I'm not an elite athlete doctor, you'll need to talk to someone else. But the funny thing is I'm always proactive with my health, not reactive. I don't go in and be sick. I go in and say, listen, how can I, not be sick? And it's a funny experience. I can see that my doctor really enjoys our conversation because it's not complaining about something. It's usually something quite proactive.
Trying not to. You're actually that proactive. Yeah, I think that's something I always beat my head against the wall for people. I was like, regardless of age, that proactive health consideration, that regular doctor checkup, whether it's 6, 3, 12, I don't like 12 months. I think 6 months should be a minimum standard for all of us. For a check-in, a catch-up conversation, and maybe some blood work to make sure everything is moving along is so important for health, right?
Yeah. Well, I find these, I mean, we laugh about the watch, but the watch is keeping a constant measure of heart rates, of everything, and I think having that monitor, and then you can look back on 12 months and see if there's any change. So it's, and then like you say, I try and do bloods every 6 months with my doctor at least, sometimes more than that. To just set the pattern so that if something gets out of whack, it shows up very early. We don't have to wait until it's chronic before I deal with it,
Yeah, 100%. And then as an older human, mate, the idea of having something chronic is definitely not something you want just yet. The ability to return from that would be challenging, I guess, for most people who didn't have a healthier background, could be really quite troublesome for them.
Hmm. Well, strong to the end, I think we
Mm.
can go with that one. If we can't get older and stronger, which we've kept going for quite a while, we
Well,
might
mate,
go older and better gloss, or maybe something like
older and mate,
that.
older and stronger, mate. You will go down an absolute savage. The thing I note is, like, you did talk about, you have had a health issue last year. How much do you think, if any, being looking after your health and being proactive like you are, like you're talking about, and doing strength training and regular exercise, do you think played a part in your sort of ability to recover from that challenge?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I mean, the kids at my class couldn't believe a week later I was back in class. You know, they just sort of, how does this work? You've gone to hospital, you've been in recovery and all this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And while it was a scare, and it was a good scare,
Yep.
you know, basically the lifestyle change that they were asking for, I was already there.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but there are some drugs that I need to take
Yep.
I've got to soften the heart or something. One of my parts of my heart has got quite stiff.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and that's just from a life of a little bit of blood pressure.
Yep.
But yeah, and set me back for a while. I was a bit,
Yep.
wonder how this is all going to work. But
Yep.
basically, it's, you know, I saw my cardiologist. He said I come back in a year, so he's not really just,
Pretty good.
you know. And I tell him, I say, you know what I do, you know, like, and I showed him my deadlifts and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
I said, this is what I do. Is this okay? He said, yeah, keep doing it. It's the best thing for you. Best thing for you is to keep that heart going up to, you know, max
Yep.
every now and again, and keeping it under, you know, because he said, you know, the drugs that he's got me on, they've slowed me right down, slowed down the blood pressure, and so it's bringing the
Yep.
heart back to a more supple organ
Mm.
rather than being quite stiff. So,
Yep. Yep.
but I really think that, because what they couldn't understand is I went into what they call AF, where the heart is just fibrillating, but I still maintained good blood flow. You know, they couldn't
Yep.
understand how that a heart that's just basically vibrating
Straighten out.
was strong enough to be spitting it out, you know.
Mm.
Um, and, and I didn't even notice it. They said, you know, you're losing breath. I said, no, it's fine. So
Mm.
I had a pretty strong system going into
Yep.
that situation, and I've got a pretty strong system coming out of it.
Yep.
And now basically I don't give it a second thought apart from
Mm.
keeping my lifestyle changes, you know,
Mm.
no alcohol, obviously,
Yep.
and also the drugs.
Yep.
Um,
I think that's another reason that I think it's hard to get buy-in on for people, is like, at some point in time you will have a challenging health moment in your life. You'll have a very challenging one at some point, but
yeah,
hopefully you will have a few over your time, and your ability to go through it and then overcome it. Big part of what it will come down to is how physically fit and strong and healthy you are as a body, right?
yeah,
And I often think that idea is, you know, because the concept of having a health challenge is not something people want to think about, or it's, you know, they're young and they're like, nah, it's a later problem. That's one of the really big main reasons. I mean, PBs are fucking cool, but also still walking around healthy and doing cool things every other week after having a major health concern is a really good thing.
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know whether I'm any more careful. No, I have changed my lifestyle. You know, as much as
Absolutely.
possible. I've
Yep.
you know, I've eliminated the things that I need to eliminate, and that's all the
Mm-hmm.
doctor said. He said basically,
Yep.
you know, that's all we have to do. And so,
Yep.
so I'm
But that,
back to, you know, obviously I monitor it, make sure that it's not triggering back again. But
yep.
we seem to have had the episode, come through it, and now we're
Yep.
back to where we were. So.
Like it never
Um,
happened.
you know, and the joke is that the thing that I'm continuing to do is probably the thing that got me through it, you know, like, and they certainly, at least this cardiologist,
Yep.
he just said, you know, just keep doing it. It's good for you, you know.
We like that cardiologist.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's
One.
top guy. He was referred to by Dr. Pat,
Thanks, Pat.
and I was grateful for that. That really was great, And he's just such a low key guy. And I'm sure in an emergency he'd have your back and fix you
He'd
up
be
in no
handy.
time. But
Yeah.
he just looks at me and we just talk about powerlifting. And then I
Like that.
leave and says, "See you next year." Quite
Mate, I
funny.
think you need to be studied. Personally, I think you need to be studied. I think all of you in the 70s, you, Jimmy, like find
Yeah.
all. Fuck the medium. Don't worry about the medium
Yes.
70-year-old.
No. No.
Because me, as a 42-year-old, I know what 70-year-old I want to be. And I can tell you it's not the medium one or less.
No.
I want to be the top one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
find all the top ones. Let's
Yeah.
study them all. Find
Yeah.
out what they do. And then tell us I know what they do. But tell all the other ones out there what they do. So we can start affecting some change now to do it. And lead towards no longer, and then we can raise the idea and concept of what a medium 7-year-old should be, right? I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Then we can all be like Pete.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be a trailblazer. I'm just looking out for myself. But this is the best thing I can do for myself. I'm not necessarily trying to inspire anyone. I'm just, for me, it's normal. It's the normal thing you should do if you want a quality of life. And which is, what's the point of existing if you're not going to have quality of life? But I keep coming back to that aspirational thing too. I think you'll find 70-year-olds that are in a good shape. They're probably quite aspirational as well. They're probably still trying to, what I call it, live a life of significance. Like that you matter. That you're not just
Retired
filling in
enough.
numbers, and you're not the discarded McDonald's packet. That you actually still have a place. You still have a role.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And then hopefully, like the thing I think about, like even in your 70s, that's cool. Then look at you, you're not even retired.
No, I can't. I'm starting a new business. What are you talking about? I've started a new business. Well, I've been working on it for a while, but we're really getting into education, basically, trying to find a real solution to a problem with education that we see, and trying to get industry people together to help with the teaching people rather than having teachers. We should be using industry and industry knowledge and capture that and share that with the world. And with AI and digital platforms now, it's becoming unbelievable, in terms of
very doable.
its scalability. And so I'm just saying, here I am starting a business as well. It's who at 70 is investing money in a business, but that's me, because I'm also trying to get a world record as well. So that
do you think they line up?
aspirational.
Do you think it's all lining up? One's feeding the other one.
Well, I said to you quite a while ago that it was funny that powerlifting and me writing on Quora were simultaneous. Like I wasn't, I started writing on Quora at the same time I took up powerlifting, and since then I wrote 1 million words apparently, because I downloaded it all the other day.
With 2 fingers.
2 fingers, and I wrote 1 million words, which is answers, and that content's had well over 20 million views. That content, and still today, every week they tell me I've got 19,000 people have read my articles or whatever.
Wow.
So that was just a brain dump that once I started powerlifting, I don't know, there was something new flowing through the system, probably new cells. And it inspired me to write about, well, it was just answering questions. People would ask questions and I'd say, actually, I know the answer to that, mostly about business. And so I wrote that, and I've stopped writing now because I've pretty much downloaded everything I want to do. But I'm pretty sure that it was the powerlifting and that new life that actually inspired me to document and download, and that content is continuing to help people even today. It's so I do think there's a big correlation between that physical activity, resistance training, and being able to cognitively being up there. I notice I'm getting a bit slower like just mentally I'm going, oh, that's not as sharp as I used to be, but it's still sharp enough to be the person that's leading the AI at TAFE. I'm
Yeah,
leading
that's still pretty sharp, mate.
I'm
I know
doing
shit all about
I'm
AI, mate.
doing
It's sharper than
AI
me.
chatbot
Yep.
teachers. That's what I'm pioneering at TAFE and rolling that out. And it's the 70-year-old that's at the boardroom telling everyone about how we need to go on this path. And I have to laugh because, I should have been retired as a TAFE teacher long ago. And yet I'm leading this new technology and its introduction into education.
They won't
So,
let you retire, mate.
I do think there's a correlation between,
Mm,
achievement in a physically strong and also
mm.
how it affects
Yep.
your cognitive ability, your thinking ability, and
Yep.
problem solving, and staying.
Yep.
You're still a keen learner. That's the
Mm,
bizarre thing about it. I still want to
mm,
learn even at 70. I want to learn, and that's
mm,
a really unusual thing to have. And I keep having
mm.
to put it down to an hour and a half of being in the gym. Not saying I train for an hour and a half, but I'm in the gym for an hour and a
Yeah,
half.
well, by the sounds of it, unfortunately, Pete, you don't get to go anywhere, mate. The gym is ingrained. It ain't disappearing anytime soon, I
No,
don't think.
oh, it's a wonderful community. What you've built over the years is just crazy, and it's been a
Mm,
privilege to be part of it. And we celebrated your 10th anniversary the other
mm.
day
Yeah, yeah.
of Fortitude Barbell, and and when you look at the diverse community that we have, and it's the funniest place. So I'm because our gym is sort of split in two. You can be out the back, and all you hear is laughter at the front.
Mm.
I've never been in a powerlifting gym where most of it's conversation and laughter, but that's what it is. And yet our gym is full of people that are,
Freaking strong.
world champions. And yet
Mm,
it's a place where there's no loss of community and no loss of social
mm,
engagement. And in an and I've said this, in an age of AI, people are going to
mm,
need communities. They're going to need to belong.
mm,
And that's why I say the powerlifting gym for me, Fortitude,
mm.
will do me for my
Yeah.
social engagement.
Mm. What do you reckon the goals will be for next year? Do you dare
Uh,
consider anything yet, or do you just worry about this one and then the next one will be next?
Yeah, you're right. We do this and then we do what's comes next. But I have to get this visceral fat out. I
Yep.
can't go into old age with visceral fat. So
No,
I'm thinking that
it's
we
got to
could
go.
probably go for a 4 or 5 month where that becomes the
Priority.
priority. I want to do nationals next year because I'm still 70 before Titus and all these other guys get 70.
Ooh.
So I've got one
You versus
last
Timmy
mark there.
Ambrose, bro, head to head.
Yeah, well, me and Joe, he'll beat me. He's such a talent. But so that's going to be my goal is to
Yep.
get down under 100, a
Yep.
comfortable 100. But most importantly, to get rid of this visceral fat which refuses
Yep.
to leave.
Get
And,
rid of that. Smush that off.
so that's going to be my
Mm.
priority, and not
That's good
necessarily
because, like, off the back of Polish Man, you're already qualified for Nats next year. I don't know if you realize.
correct. So I can back off. Everything I do then is a fun comp. It's a
Mm,
I'd love to
mm.
go down to Lismore.
Lismore's a good time.
Well, it was just such a fun comp last time,
Mm.
and it'd be great to just go down and
Yep.
with Josh down there, and
Yep.
support that community.
Yep. Yep.
A few things like that. I'd love a go at the deadlift comp, the night of the
Yep.
deadlift.
Mhm.
But I don't think they'll be things that I'm absolutely
You're not trying to
training
hit
for.
numbers. You're just trying to
I'm
be a part of
really,
it.
I just want to get rid of this visceral fat,
Mm.
because it's not
Gotta
going to
go.
work for me. It's going to be a very big problem
Mm.
for me,
Yeah.
when I get
Yeah.
older.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You're not old yet, right?
No. But when I get older, I need to worry about it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think if I'll wrap up soon, but that's the bit I like, and the thing we always talk about is that you're not old yet, right? Because
No way.
that's a mindset, it's a concept
No way.
that I think too many people adopt maybe a little too soon, because you'll hear people like I did at the age of 42 calling herself old. And that's your 70. So that's 28 years. Your youth already throwing around the word I am old,
Mm.
and you're not even using it yet. When I am older.
No. No, no, no. I mean, I often say old is what, 20 years older than what your age is. So that's
Yep.
usually the right one. But I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is for real. I mean, old is when you can't do things, and I get that. But
Correct.
right now
Yep.
I can do pretty
All it.
much everything that, I need to do and want to do.
Good.
Sort of
Good.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was fun.
Pretty bloody cool, mate. Mate, I'm going to ask you one question before I hit the stop button. Are you ready for that one question?
Whatever.
What's for lunch?
Hamburger with chips. No, sadly, it'll be probably tuna and salad. Something like that.
Yeah, salad
Um,
and rice.
I've enjoyed this attitude at the moment because I have been eating because I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to. Because I had 10 kilos to put on if I wanted to, and
Mm-hmm.
so I've taken
Taking
every
full advantage
opportunity
of
to
that.
be that. Mostly good food, but I've eaten
Mm.
before and after training and all that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
just to
Yep.
support the muscle growth. But
Yep.
after we do the comp, I know I'm going to go back to
You're going to be hungry.
salads and
You're going to be
protein. A lot of
hungry.
protein, a lot of
You're going
salads.
to be very accountable to your
A lot of
digestion.
vegetables, yeah, yeah, totally. Well, Amy's booked me in almost the Monday after Polish Man to get
Very
a
good.
benchmark, and then
Very good.
she will then we'll work on it together and get this thing done.
I like
Um,
it.
yeah.
Good, brother. Well, mate, we will, by the time this comes out, you will have successfully already gotten that squat record. You would have
Okay.
done it on the second, and I'll be pushing you for a third, potentially somewhere around 220. I
Okay.
would suggest is what I would have done. And you would have got 2-1 is my prediction. 2 whites to 1 red, the red being because Jess
From
Rose is
Jess.
sitting on the side. And one thing to note that I've just come to realize, Pete, is unless Sil rocks up, I will be refereeing your Australian record as well. So
So,
because Jess will be Jess is head refereeing, and being that it's a local comp, and I've got the Oz status, I'll just step in when required. But a little thing
all
to
right.
think
So
about.
I'll get to depth. I'll do
Yep.
depth.
Yep.
We'll be
So
fine.
yeah, but I'm going to predict you go 2-1, and I give you the red actually on the side,
Okay.
even though it's in. But I'm just being an asshole.
Just being an asshole.
That'll be my
So,
prediction for the comp, mate. We'll do it again. We'll do it again
yeah.
next year. Thanks,
Yeah.
Petey.
Thanks for having me back. That was great. Good
Appreciate it.
chat.
Don't push any buttons yet. Let me just hang up and